I was asked by a commentator, Jan, on parts he would need to change his left-hand drive Land Rover to a right-hand drive Land Rover. Now this is unusual because usually I do it the other way around. Now, rather than writing a list with part numbers, I'd rather show you what you require. And the reason is that there's so many part numbers that have just got a little odd variant that you could make a mistake, and I don't want to be responsible for that. So basically he's got a 2.5 ex-military that came from Dubai. Now unfortunately I don't know if he's got power steering or not, but if he hasn't got power steering, this is a 200 TDI, same block as the 2.5, and this has got an adapter at the bottom for the power steering pump, and what that does is it moves the alternator up a bit higher, and then on the pulley here there's a double pulley that goes onto here. Now this has got there's two different variants. There's one with a flex plate on, and I think that was for the left hand drives, but the right hand drives used to have a pulley coming out and it used to come up and down like that, so you need that bit. And also the hoses and the steering box. Now that's a Gemma 6 bolt. They're sort of bulletproof. The old Adwests were nothing but problems, but you just need new hoses to go onto there. So just check out which box you've got, look in the parts manual. But like I say, if you're doing this in England, you'll have ample amount of parts available. You'll need a heater. These are the best heaters to get. The ones with the plastic hoses coming out are horizontal. The heater's just a little bit longer, the matrix is just a bit longer, and it's a bit better heater. Hoses. Well, now this is going to be a tricky one. I think these hoses at the top here for the left hand drive now are obsolete, so you're going to have to make something up. I'm not sure about that one. That's got me. But again, if you do, I've just remembered that because you're going to do right hand drive, so those are really easy. Your brake booster and assembly, that can swap over, and same as your clutch master cylinder and assembly, that can be swapped over. You've got to make new brake pipes or find some good used ones. The clutch hose has to be swapped over. The steel hose, that has to go. Whilst I'm at it, this is very early in the morning. I've just moved the plastic off the car, so it's still, you know, there's water everywhere. But the wipers have to be changed over. Now you can see there's holes that are blanked off, and these are the holes you need for a right hand drive, the extremity ones. And also you've got to change the wiper arms. They're the wrong ones too. The motor you can keep and swap over. You know, you can I'll do a link to a video about that. You've got to change the wiper rack inside. Now, well, I should have said the wiper rack tube. The rack remains the same length whether it's left or right, you know, the actual cable, but the tubes are different, so you've got to work out that. So let's go and have a look on the outside, in the inside. And you know something, it's easier for me to tell you what to keep than what to buy. So what you're going to keep is the vents, this vent, your dash top. You're going to keep these levers here, that assembly. You're going to keep this panel and this. All the rest, it's goodbye. Oh, you keep the badge. And also, don't forget, keep all the screws and fittings. Oh, you can keep the ashtray. Big deal, eh? This is gone, this is gone, this is gone, this is gone, this is gone. You know, I could go on forever of all the parts that you don't need anymore. So let's go to the other side and we'll tell you what you need. Post TD5, that means like your TDs, your TDIs, etc. You can keep your same wiring harness, just flop it over from left to right or right to left, whichever way you're going to go. That's easy. You can keep all your steering column plastics, all your steering assembly is the same. But now you're going to have to change quite a lot on your dash. And like I say, right hand drive stuff, you can pick it up really easy. This plastic cowling has got to be changed, but you save all your clocks and your instruments. you've got to change this panel, change this lever. Usually that comes as an assembly anyway, you know, if you buy it used. Same for your heater control. That's the wrong way around too. What else? This panel here, this is the wrong way around. Those go into the dash up there, so that's just a straight swap over. What else? Oh, handbrake cable, you've got to change that. The pedals, you don't have to worry about them too much. These will just swap straight over, you know, with the boxes. The gear shift, you're going to have to move it at a slightly different angle. You know, you just undo the bolt and move it around a bit to suit. What else? I think that's about it really. It's a bit fiddly, but it's not the end of the world. There's nothing really sort of rocket sciencey about it. It's just that there's an awful lot of screws and nuts and bolts and things like this. There is one other part that you need to change that you can't see on this car, so I'm going to show you on my pickup truck, because I haven't put the dash back in again. So this is part of my dashboard in my pickup. I haven't quite got it finished yet, but this is the panel I was talking to you about, this bit here, and that bit's got to be changed. Now I just remembered something vitally important that you've got to change too. There's a hole here where this bracket came through, here. Now if you're on a left-hand drive, there will be a bracket just here where the wiper comes through, and you've got to take that off and weld it on the other side. So if you're on the right, or if you're on the left-hand drive, you've got to take that bracket off and weld it here, and then this will come down to support your steering column. It's really, really important. So don't forget that. Don't box it all up and you come to do this bit and then you've forgotten it. Now this bit is quite important too, basically for alignment, because on here you've got some square holes that go in this panel to hold this panel in here. Now I made that out of metal, but the plastic ones break very more than enough, so you've got to change that. Oh, also looking at this, you've got to get this piece as well, this bottom brace. That's a different hand from right to left or left to right. They're handed. And I think apart from that, I think we've got it covered. Like I said, the wiper tubes here, I think you can use this one again, I can't remember. You've got to make this one longer, and the one that comes out the motor, you've got to make that one shorter. Let's go and have a look at that one. It's a bit difficult to see this tube because it's hidden behind the vent, but because you move your wiper boxes, this tube is going to be shorter. And there you can see where I've welded on that bracket here. Now this is on the left-hand drive, but obviously that bracket, if you're on the left-hand drive going to a right-hand drive, please keep up, that has got to go over there and it's got to line up. So it is tricky. It is tricky to work out where it goes. What did I do? I think I measured off here to the centre line on that side and moved it across here, and you can see it's got a dog leg in it, so there's a bit of room for movement, and there's a bit of room for movement for going up and down, so that's a thing you can do. Like I say, the wiring harness, that flops over. Speedo cable, there's an interesting one. I think the right-hand drive one is longer. In fact, I'm almost sure it's longer. The throttle cable will be shorter, but that doesn't really matter too much. Then the rest of it's pretty much straightforward. Like I say, lots of screws, lots of nuts and bolts. Just keep a tally on where things go, because it's easier just to do a little bit at a time than pull it all out and then find out it's all wrong. Now I'll give you a top tip. You can actually put this panel in almost last, so you can build this dash up, and that's how you get to those screws underneath here. With the dash out you can get to the screws, and that's really easy. So you can put this top piece in and brace it all up and then put the bottom dash in, because there's some screws behind here. Now one little piece of interest is this plastic finisher here. This one's off a TD5, and it's slightly different to a 200 or a 300 TDI because it's a bigger box section, and that means because it used to have more wires behind it, and that's our great advantage now, because we can pass wires quite easily underneath, backwards and forwards. So try and find a TD5 one if you can. They're really handy to have. I almost forgot something extremely important about the steering, and that's the axle. Yeah, anyway, so here we go. These are handed, this support arm. You can't put a right hand drive on a left or vice versa. That's got to go, and you've got to get a proper one. Next thing, you can keep all the steering mechanism and things like this, the tubes, the damper, panhard rod, you can keep all that stuff, but you've got to change this cross eye. These are different from a right to a left. That's one little thing. You can see here the mounting bolt, that's where your shock absorber goes. Not your shock absorber, your damper, when you swap it over. So the bracket's all there, and all the holes are drilled left and right, so that's not a big problem. One issue you might have, you've got to change this steering knuckle here. You only have to change the outside casting, but this is where it gets complicated, because there was quite a few modifications over the years, and some of them had a railco bush in the top up here, and some of them had a bearing, a taper roller bearing. Actually, I've just noticed there's no bolt. There's a bolt missing in there. We've got to put that in. So yeah, we've got to you've got to change that. But the rest of it's pretty much straightforward. Oh, and one other thing, vitally important. You cannot put a right hand drop arm on a left hand drive or vice versa. They are not the same. So if you're getting a right hand drive steering box, just make sure it's got the drop arm on. If it hasn't, get a right hand drive one for a right hand drive box. It's crucial. They look as if they'll go on, but they don't. So I think that's about wrapped all that lot up. I think we've got everything there. But like I said, just make sure you'll have to go for axle numbers and things like this to make sure you've got the right railco bush in there, or a bearing, because there's quite a few little differences. And if you're doing it on a Saturday afternoon and you're looking for parts, you're going to get stuck. Alrighty, we'll talk to you later. And look, making Land Rovers better one at a time. Talk to you later. Bye bye.